All right, let's talk about the risk of losing your data and what the possible ways you could lose your data are. So first, let's just review those. Number one, you could have a power surge, power outage, server crash, flood. So let's talk about those four things, and then we'll also talk about backup and implementing a backup system. In a data center, the entire center is put on surge protection, as opposed to an office, which usually your server would be plugged into a surge protector. So in either case, you should be protected. In individual practices, there's an inconsistency in that protocol. So some practices put a surge protector in place and then some don't. It may be a small minority of practices, but the ones that don't, they're susceptible to power surge. Power outage is much more likely in a client server office for that server. Obviously, if you have a bad storm, anything like that, it could be power outage on the local level. For a web-based system, data centers have redundant ways to protect against power outages. Number one, they have battery backup. So the entire data center is typically on a battery backup. So if the power should go out, the batteries kick in. These are massive batteries that can run an entire data center for a while. As soon as those batteries turn on, what also turns on are generators, diesel generators. Those generators recharge the batteries and also power the data center. Diesel generators have usually about 3 days of gas to power them, and they're also being replenished regularly. The redundancy on the web-based system to protect against a power outage is much bigger than it is in a small office. Typically, a small office does not have a generator standing by to power the office. They may have a battery backup, but again, those are two different things. They have to have a battery backup and a generator to kick in. Now, running a server in an office and all the computers in an office and the router, etc., in an office takes a lot of power. So a generator would have to be substantial to power all those devices, as opposed to a web-based system where you have some of the devices like a laptop or an iPad that have their own batteries and can connect to the internet independently of the router and the in-office server. Those devices with a very small generator have their own battery backup, so they could run for hours without any generator. And then if they needed power, a very small generator could power those back up and recharge them. And in essence, an office could stay up and running for hours with zero power and then recharge those batteries with a very small generator. Server crash. In both cases, a server can crash, like we spoke about. However, in a data center, the servers are backed up redundantly, meaning there are multiple servers. So this picture shows one, but there's going to be multiple servers to back up the data. Minute by minute, that data is being backed up. In a small office, typically what there is some kind of hard drive or disk. And from practice to practice, it's inconsistent as far as the methodology for backing data up and also testing whether or not that backup is actually going to work. We're going to get into that in a minute. Flooding, any office can get flooded. Data center, there are multiple redundant ways that they protect against flooding, including sump pumps. The elevation of the data center itself is usually very high up so that it's not likely to be flooded. But there's multiple different ways that they're protected against floods. So let's talk about backup and recovery. In a small office, you're going to see some type of disk drive that's connected to the server. Usually that's put in place when you buy the software and you put the server in the first time. It's not nearly as consistent that backup is being tested. So that's the first problem, is that backup tested. In a data center, not only is there that single server, but there's multiple servers that are being backed up redundantly, minute by minute, and tested on a consistent basis. So the backup and recovery systems are going to be two totally different things. Now, in the case where there is a problem with the server and it does crash for some reason and you need the backup, one of the differences between having your data backup on site and having it in a web-based server or data center is that the implementation of the recovery of that data is usually left up to the practice owner, which as a doctor we're not qualified to actually go in and do that. We'd need to, again, find somebody to do that. Now, in a natural disaster, like Hurricane Sandy, for example, the number of people that are actually available to small businesses to go and recover their data are going to be limited. Also, the staff of the office is also limited that know how to recover the data. And if you left it up to a patient to set up your network, well, in a natural disaster, if your office is flooded and you can't get on your system because it's not a web-based system, it's not likely that they're going to come into your office, and in many cases, they just might not be able to get to your office. With a web-based system, what usually happens is in advance of a natural disaster, not unlike what we had with Hurricane Sandy, they beef up their support team on site where the data centers are. And there's a team of people that are trained in technology, data storage, and data backup that immediately know what to do if for some reason the data center should go down. Now in Hurricane Sandy, our data center is in New Jersey and was in the path of Hurricane Sandy and experienced zero downtime. Now had they had any downtime because of power surges, power outages, if the servers might have crashed, they had a team of people on site to make sure that that downtime was as limited as possible, as opposed to the small offices in New Jersey that did not have all of these points, all these 6 points covered, and were left up to recovering their data and backing up their data and recovering their data to their office. They left that up to themselves. So in summary, as you can see, there is much more protection in a data center against power surges, power outages, server crashing, floods, and there's much more consistency in the backup process and much more consistency and higher likelihood that the data that is backed up can be recovered quickly in a data center like there are with web-based systems.